Hello everyone, I'm Matt Williamson. How you doing today? I'm great. Weather's awesome. We're right in the heart of football season now. Let's roll. I'm going to focus this entire podcast on when Denver has the ball. A couple things to look for that I think are pretty much givens at this point is both teams are going to try to run the football. They're both going to try to protect their quarterback to some degree, even if it is Wilson starting, but definitely Nix and Fields. I think you're going to see Porter on Sutton almost exclusively and probably does quite a good job. McGlinchey, the right tackle, I can almost guarantee Sean Payton will do a better job protecting his right tackle, helping, scheming against Watt than Atlanta did. I mean, Sean Payton's called a lot more football games and designed a lot more offense than the young staff in Atlanta. And not that Watt's not going to have a huge impact, but he'll do a better job of helping his right tackle. That much I 100% agree, believe. So let's dig into these numbers. And it's not pretty for Denver's perspective. I mean, they averaged 3.3 yards per play in week one. Only the Bears were lower. In terms of the EPA, they were the third worst offense in the league thus far, only ahead of Carolina and Tennessee, as well as the second worst passing offense. So again, Nix was struggling mightily, to say the least. He did make some plays with his legs, though. EPA per play, only 4 defenses were better than the Steelers in week one. And the Steelers had the 4th best run defense per EPA. Denver converted a series into a touchdown or a new set of downs against the Seahawks just 48% of the time. Only the Panthers were worse, so pretty miserable. Back to Bo Nix. He set an NCAA record by starting 61 games. He was one of 3 rookie starters in week one, and he attempted 42 passes, but only accumulated 138 yards, didn't throw a touchdown, and threw 2 picks. So despite averaging 6.1 air yards per pass attempt, his average air yards per completion was just 2.5. So when he completed a ball, on all of his completed passes, on average, was only 2.5 yards past the line of scrimmage, for where the ball was attempted. He attempted 12 passes of 10 or more yards downfield, completed only 2 for 42 yards, and 2 interceptions on those attempts. Will Levis was the only quarterback in week one with a worse EPA per dropback than Nix. Pretty brutal. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the NFL to college, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads from the games that are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the winner-take-all Survivor pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 450 slot games. Head to the website today and use the promo code BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, all caps, to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. So last week, Denver had 4 pass catchers with 4 or more receptions, but no one with more than 45 receiving yards. Courtland Sutton did lead the way with a 29% target share. That's a big number. And saw 60% of Denver's air yards. So when they threw downfield, it was to Sutton for the most part. Devon Vele, I think I'm saying that right, Vele, he's a rookie. He lined up in the slot against Seahawks for 27 of his 34 snaps. He's their number 3 receiver. It's not Mims. It's not Franklin that they've drafted recently. He caught all 8 of his targets. That's great, But he produces 39 yards with a 2-yard average depth of target. So, yeah, you caught 8 balls, but they were all, on average, 2 yards downfield. Their tight end, Greg Dulcich, ran a route on 36 plays last week. All of Denver's other tight ends combined to run just 12 routes. So the other guys are blockers. I told you this before, but last year they led the NFL in receptions by running backs. That is very much a Sean Payton thing. Think Alvin Kamara, although they don't have an Alvin Kamara. TJ Watt, I think we know he's ridiculous, but he is 2.5 sacks away from 100 from his career and is 17 sacks away from tying his brother, JJ. He had 2 tackles for loss last week as well. Only 4 running backs with at least 100 touches averaged fewer yards per touch than Javonte Williams last year. His 3.4 yards per carry average was 31st out of 35 running backs with at least 150 carries. His numbers aren't real noteworthy from last week, but they weren't real impressive either. I thought this might be a year, or the time when Javonte Williams got back to looking like he did pre-injury. You didn't see it in Seattle, that's for sure. And in fact, Jaleel McLaughlin is maybe the better player right now, and he averaged 5.4 yards per carry last season, almost 2 full yards more than Williams. He took 16% of his rushes 10 or more yards last year. So last year, McLaughlin wasn't used as much, but he's way more efficient. This past week, though, Denver's running backs carried the ball last week 20 times, but only accumulated 64 yards on the ground. 20 running back carries only gets you 64 yards. On early downs, McLaughlin was outsnapped Williams 19-15, so it looks like it's not super definitive, but you would think McLaughlin would be the third down scat back type and Williams would be the bruiser. But on early downs, McLaughlin got 19 snaps, first and second down, where Williams got 15. So they might just look at him and say, he's better. Or even Estime, the rookie out of Notre Dame, maybe he gets in on the action here sooner than later because they want to feature the running back position a lot, and I think they're searching. But Nix is a good runner too. In college, he averaged 4 yards a carry, and he has 38 career rushing touchdowns at the college level. He scored last week too, and Nix was Denver's leading rusher in week 1 with 35 yards on the ground. Not ideal. Against Steelers last week, Atlanta only ran the ball between the tackles on 18% of their rushing attempts, the lowest percentage of any week 1 game. Is that a Falcon thing? We just want to run outside zone, get Bijan on the edges, or is it going to be a trend that we're going to keep an eye on that teams aren't going to call that many interior runs against Cam, Benton, Ogunjobi, these linebackers? So it's just something I found interesting. Could just be a one-off, one game, whatever. And they snapped the ball 18 times on third down and converted only 5. So not great. I do think Sean Payton is an exceptional designer of offense. I think Nix fits his system. They've invested heavily in their offensive line. And I think it's a good, not great unit, but it's a very physical unit. It's more of a run blocking unit. Their guard, Quinn Meinerz, I think is one of the best young guards in the league. I think their center position is one of the worst in the league. McGlinchey's a fine right tackle. Garrett Bowles is a above average left tackle. McGlinchey's much more of a run blocker, and he can struggle with speed to power, which is TJ Watt all day long. So I'm sure the Denver Broncos are going to do everything in their power to run the football, don't turn it over, short throws. And if both teams take that approach, maybe it's close in the end and the home team in the light air is, handling it better with less oxygen. And I've told you this all week. The Broncos are so good at home over their history in September because it's such a hard place to play when you're not in peak condition. But I think the Steelers defense has a rotation that should be able to handle that quite well. 3 linebackers all getting in there, 3 or 4 edge guys all getting in there, probably 5 or 6 defensive linemen. So the big people should be rotated pretty well, and they're healthy and spry at the moment. So that's that side of the ball. We will finish up on the other side of the ball, and I will have a prediction for you. So take care.